Okay, yeah, we got to get started here. Okay, I'm gonna do 3, 2, 1. There'll be a pause. I'll share screen, and then we'll get moving.
Good to go.
3, 2, 1. Okay, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, September the 22nd, 7:30 a.m. on Lake Michigan. I'm here with Todd Bash and Andrew Waters to do the J88 North American 2022 weather briefing. Quick run through the slide deck here. Whoops. There we go. Speakers today, Kerry Klingler, if he does hop on, I think he might be in between and commute to get to a point where he can hop in with us. If he does, great. If not, we'll be just with Andrew Waters as the consultant for the race forecast this morning, and then also Todd Bash. And I think I just saw Kerry Klingler pop in right there. So Kerry, I'll be passing the ball to you here in a little while, and Andrew as well. I'm going to get through the slide deck and the forecast. So thanks for joining us this morning. Myself, Shay Gibson with SailFlow. A few housekeeping rules this morning. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat box now as we go live 7:30 each day for the race. The social media platforms will carry the link afterwards after we are done and concluded with this event. So ask your more immediate questions this morning, during the event, and each morning. We can answer those at the very end of our session here. And then that way, when it goes out to Facebook and the other social media platforms, you can leave your feedback or anything else you have. Shameless plug for us at SailFlow. If you haven't tried our app yet, please feel free to do the Plus or the Pro app, which gives you all of our weather stations. And then if you never tried it before, there is a 2-week free trial version, no strings attached. And if you have any questions about this, please give me a email at sgibson@weatherflow.com. Happy to field those questions as far as the app goes. Forecast area. We do have sensors in the area. We have several all around the Great Lakes, but 3 or 4 in the immediate area that are worth looking at. And we'll go over those in just a moment. We also do have one buoy sensor on the southeast corner at St. Joseph Buoy, which is also very helpful. Other data sources include the NDBC, which is a national data buoy center, and then the Great Lakes Environmental Research Lab Network. So there's other ones in the area too, but most of those are public domains, which are free in the SailFlow app, you can see. Racing area, of course, today is going to be a big question, and Kerry will probably bring you in on this one. Pretty rough out there past the breakwater, and we're seeing some pretty strong winds this morning. I know the National Weather Service has a small craft advisory over the area, and there's some high waves. So this is going to be a challenging day and a lot of skill to be made at the race start. So I'll go ahead and finish up the slide deck there and bring my surface map screen up. So I'll bring my draw tool up as well if I can find it. There we go. And so the big player today is this area of high pressure, right? This is over the northern tier, which is creating a tight gradient between low pressure and troughing up here to the northeast United States, and then also creating the gradient over Lake Michigan. There's some area of troughing, which is creating a few showers off of Lake Superior that we'll get to in just a moment as well. But just showing you what the surface map is for today. This is going to be the player. This is what's driving the strong winds across the area. Looking at our surface map with Precip, and you can see the high pressure really diving down over this area. The precip is mainly coming from cooler air over Lake Superior, and it's just drawing a little bit of troughing, few showers, isolated showers. You can even see it off of northern Lake Michigan coming down. We may see an isolated drizzle or two across our area at some point if the winds do veer a little bit more north. Right now we're seeing a north-northwest flow overall. And in fact, if we go to sub-regional, kind of zero in on our area, I'll run the streamlines and vectors. I'll turn off the precip, and you can see the wind direction for right now, at least, and it's pretty solid all the way across. You look at the 500 millibar map, it's more or less from west-northwest to northwest flow at about 50 to 70 knots, and so that's what's driving the wind. So we all know that cooler air is wind that's coming down at an angle, right? So that's called cold air advection, and that's what's creating the gradient across the area, and some of that subsidence clouding that we may see from time to time as the cooler air dives over the warmer waters. In fact, the lake surface temperature is about 68 degrees. We're seeing a cooler start. So as the daytime warms up to the mid 60s, we may see that kind of subside a little bit and sort of evens out. Looking at the wind readings across the area, we're seeing a whole variety of wind readings here. Montrose Beach Light is up and down due to the northwest flow versus north-northwest. The more northerly it goes, the more it fills in, but we are seeing averages going up to 20, 24 knots and then gusting up near 30. and that's on this side. So I really kind of look over to the eastern side of the lake at St. Joseph Pier to see kind of what's more normalized from this direction. And we're seeing 22 to 28 knots, right? So that includes the gusts. The it's pretty rough. I mean, even St. Joseph Buoy, where our sensor is at, is pretty steady right around 20, 21 knots. So we'll see some fluctuations, and the winds right now are about 330 to 340 degrees. That could go all the way 360 by the start, and then possibly over to about 20, 25 degrees as the afternoon goes on. So it could be a slight veering process as we get near 11, 12 o'clock. We may see winds come in from the north, which would fill those winds in a little bit more than what we're seeing now. Look out at the Michigan South Buoy. It is 23 knots, gusting 29. And the models, I'll tell you one thing about the modeling in this area, and I'm just going to pick the Harrison Dever crib for this because it's a little farther offshore, closer to the race ring. And what we have is a large agreement of directions from the models. And then we do have some disagreement with speeds, simply because of the factor of the winds and which direction they're even coming from. Good news is the models are now, the higher resolution models are now starting to trend a little bit lower through the day. So where we're starting pretty strong now, looks like we may lay down to about 18 to 22 knots by the time of the race start. We can't rule out some of those 20, 24 knot averages with some gusts in the upper 20s at times. But then I think over time, slowly but surely, will come down just a little bit. I think we're going to pretty much max in our lower end around 18 to 22 for the day until about 3 o'clock when it starts to fall off. But just keep in mind that those higher gusts are going to be kicking up. Another thing to consider are the wave heights out there, right? So we've got some pretty significant wave heights. Even at Michigan City Buoy, we're seeing 6.2 feet at 8 seconds. We've got the Wilmette Buoy at 6.9 feet at 6 seconds. So you're looking at anywhere from 5 to 7 feet at a short period swell. So pretty rough out there as far as that goes. And currents, I did look up some of the nowcast surface currents, and I'm just going to run this forward. I'm just going to hit forward, and it's going to kind of slowly go through. But you can see right now the winds are really kicking that swell down. There is a little bit of a swell, but northerly wind, what's going to happen is you're going to see surface currents starting to slosh around and starting to eddy, which adds to the chaos of the waves. But usually we would see sort of a uniform swell from the north, at least, or current from the north from the winds when they initiate. But as time goes on, you'll see how kind of chaotic it gets. So I'll just run this forward, and you can see that some of the eddying and the gyre out there, and this only adds to some of the slop and chop, right? That's what I call it, where you get, the current just starts to roil around down from the south and back up and all around. So really not much, we don't really want to get focused too much on the current out there, but I think down to at least 1 meter, you could see some effects from the current and the swell kind of bouncing together. So with that, I'll go ahead and take it over to Carrie. I'll go to Andrew first, and we'll go to Carrie. But Andrew, what's your take on, as far as the race course goes? Maybe some things to watch for, some things to consider in this kind of wind where we're going to see some bouncing around.
Yeah, thanks, Shay. I think that the overriding thing, of course, is going to be everyone's safety. Because we've got forecasted high winds and high waves, I think in terms of the actual sailing, and to Kerry's point yesterday at the debrief that we did, it's all about keeping the boat moving. And it's a lot less of a day about what the strategy looks like, and I think really keeping everything clean, keeping everything safe, keep the boat rolling is going to be very, very important. But obviously, if the race committee do determine that we will go sailing today, then everyone's safety is obviously the high priority. But keep the wheels on the bus as best as you can. Keep the boat upright as well.
Right, great. And Carrie, did you have anything you wanted to add? You're on mute, so make sure to unmute yourself, kid. And we could always come right back.
We go.
There we
Here
go.
we go.
There we go. Go ahead, Carrie.
I found it. In looking at the sail flow map, it looked like there is more wind as you get further and further into the middle of the lake. And, it makes me wonder if they're going to try and tuck us a little bit closer to the shore, because it's a day where you don't have conflicting fleets that they have to move us out, which might be a little bit helpful, but then you'll have an effect, a land effect on the angle of the breeze. And, traditionally, if we get closer to the shore, I'll look for port back lifts coming off the shore, on the beach. So that would be my only concern is that. And even though it's windy, you still gotta sail the ships and be in phase. There's gonna be ships out there, and people sort of get into survival mode. They forget about the important things of sailboat racing, and one is being on the line at the time the start goes off. People get intimidated, and then all of a sudden they're way off the line when the gun goes off. It doesn't matter if you're at the favored end or the unfavored end. Be at the line when the gun goes off, and get off the starting line with a reasonable charge. Second thing is try and stay in phase as much as you can. Keep your head in the game as far as shifts are concerned. And 3, don't heel the boat too much. In big waves and big wind, if you heel the boat too much, the boat's going to go sideways, and you want it to go forward. Yeah, that's about it.
Great. Thank you, Kerry. Appreciate that. Anything else from any of the other panelists before I move on to tomorrow's forecast? I think we pretty much covered it. It's just going to be one of these rough days out there. Give any other comments? I think we're good. All right, so let's take a look at, I'm just going to pick the Harrison Dever Crib buoy for the point spot forecast for tomorrow. And it looks like what's going to happen is that high is going to push overhead. So this is what happens when you get doming out directly overhead as we get into tomorrow morning, is the winds get very light and variable in the morning. What my thoughts are with this is, as this domes out overhead, eventually it's going to move off to the east and southeast, and this will provide us with a southeast sea breeze for tomorrow. I don't think we're going to see anything above 2 to 6 knots by the time the race starts, just simply because of where the doming out's occurring. I think as we get into the 12 to 1 and 2 o'clock ranges, we start to see the winds start to veer and come up from the southeast. The models are actually a little bit more optimistic. I'm not as optimistic as that turn so early in the morning, but we do get that turn in the afternoon to come up maybe around 8 to 12 knots. So just a quick look at tomorrow. This is not solid. It's not the forecast. We'll definitely be looking at this tomorrow morning and zeroing in on it, but it does look a little bit more optimistic than it did even just last night, where it zeroed out at some point. So as long as we keep the wind going, that's a good thing. And back to the slide, I think that's a wrap this morning. Does anyone else on the panel have anything else to add before we sign off?
Be careful, have fun.
Yep, be careful, have fun. I see we have a good amount of participants, so 45 for this morning. So thank you all for coming out and joining us this morning. And then I don't see any questions in the chat box, so hopefully we covered all your questions. If you do have any feedback, please leave it on the social media platforms. Until tomorrow morning, 7:30, everybody, have a good day, stay safe, and good luck out there.
Thank you, Shay.
Thank you.
Thank you,